I spent 5 years caring for my grandmother, bathing her, feeding her, while my family went on cruises and holidays. When she passed, they all showed up in designer clothes to the will reading. My aunt sneered at me, "Thanks for doing the dirty work. We'll take it from here." But when the lawyer opened the envelope, everyone's faces turned white. I just sat back and watched. My name's Rachel, I'm 38, and I live in Dayton, Ohio. Born and raised here. I've never been wealthy. Never married. No kids. I work at the local library part-time. My life isn't flashy, but I've always been the one who shows up. The one people call when things get hard. And 5 years ago, things got hard. My grandmother, Mama Jean, started forgetting simple things. First, it was where she left her purse. Then she'd call me 5 times in one morning, forgetting she just talked to me. After a fall in her kitchen that left her with a cracked rib, her doctor said she couldn't live alone anymore. And just like that, the phone started ringing. First it was my mom. "Rachel, we need to talk about Grandma. She can't stay there alone anymore. We should figure something out." She said. Not one of them offered to take her in. Uncle Roy claimed he had back issues and couldn't handle the physical care. Aunt Susan said her schedule was too full and too unstable for such a commitment. My mom said she was too far away. So it fell on me. I had to give up my apartment and move into Mama Jean's house on Beaverton Lane. She wasn't herself anymore. I had to label every drawer, take the knobs off the stove, and put alarms on the doors so she wouldn't wander off at night. I bathed her. I brushed her hair when she forgot how. I cleaned her when she had accidents, and I didn't flinch. I cooked soft food she could chew, fed her by hand when her coordination slipped. I held her while she cried because she didn't remember her own name. Meanwhile, my family was on cruise ships, beaches, and wine tastings. I got birthday photos from Mykonos. Christmas emails from Aspen. New Year's check-ins from Belize. Every time they messaged me, it was the same: "How's Grandma? Let us know if you need anything." I started hating those messages. You know what I got in 5 years? A $50 Amazon card from Susan one Christmas. That was it. I didn't ask for help, but the silence was loud. I watched her savings shrink while I juggled groceries, prescriptions, doctor appointments. I took unpaid leave from work more than once when she had episodes or hospital visits. Still, I kept going. Because she was there for me. When I was 7, and my mom ran off with some guy to Florida, Mama Jean took me in. She packed my school lunches, bought me winter coats with her Social Security checks, and made me feel safe when the world didn't. So I stayed. Mama Jean died quietly on a cold Tuesday morning in February. She just didn't wake up. I knew it was coming. She'd stopped talking the week before, just stared at the wall and whispered to people I couldn't see. I held her hand for an hour after I found her. Just sat there. I'd never felt more alone in my life. Then came the vultures. Suddenly, everyone had time. They flew in from their mansions and resorts and showed up at the funeral in black cashmere and pearl earrings. My mom sobbed like she'd visited every weekend. Roy passed out business cards like it was a networking event. Susan came in like she owned the place, dressed like she was heading to the Met Gala. She took one look at me and smirked. "Thanks for doing the dirty work," she whispered as she poured herself wine in Mama Jean's kitchen. "We'll take it from here." She said it like I was the hired help who could go now. I didn't argue. I just looked at her. I knew something she didn't. You see, 2 years into Mama Jean's decline, she'd called Mr. Klein her old estate lawyer. She was still lucid back then. She sat me down at the kitchen table and said, "You've been here for me, Rachel. They've all gone off living their lives like I don't exist. That's fine. But I won't let them take this from you. You'll see." I begged her not to do anything drastic. She just smiled and said, "Don't argue with me. Now it was the day of the will reading. We all sat in Mr. Klein's office in downtown Dayton. It smelled like old leather and lemon-scented wood polish. My family looked like they were waiting for a game show prize. Mr. Klein adjusted his glasses and opened the sealed envelope. He started with the usual. Her friend Mildred from church would get her mother's sapphire ring. A local shelter got a small donation. Nothing major. Then he got to the part that made the room fall into silence. To my daughter Elaine, I leave $1. My mom choked. What? To my son Roy, I leave $1. Roy's face turned red. This has to be a mistake. To my daughter Susan, I leave nothing. She's taken enough. Susan slammed her hand on the table. What the hell is this? She wasn't in her right mind. Mr. Klein lifted another envelope. This is a series of letters written by Jean Abernathy. Each notarized, dated, and witnessed over the past 5 years. In them, she outlines her wishes and explains them clearly. He pulled out the last part. To my granddaughter Rachel, who cared for me when no one else would, who sacrificed years of her life to give me dignity, I leave my home, my vehicle, my savings, my stocks, my retirement account, and all of my possessions. It's not enough to repay her. But it's what I can give. I didn't say anything. I didn't smile. I just sat there while my family's faces turned white. Susan shouted something about lawyers. Roy stormed out. My mom started crying again, but not the kind of tears from the funeral. This time, it was different. This time, she knew she lost. After the will reading, I walked out of that lawyer's office into the cold February air and lit a cigarette. I hadn't smoked in years, but that day I needed one. I watched the smoke curl into the gray sky while behind me, my family fought like dogs over scraps that weren't even on the table anymore. I didn't go home right away. I drove around for a while, windows down even though it was freezing, letting the wind numb my face. When I finally pulled back into Mama Jean's driveway, my driveway now, it didn't feel like a win. It felt quiet. Empty. But that silence didn't last long. It started with texts. My mother, we should talk. I'm sure there's a way to work this out. Then Susan, Rachel, this isn't right. Grandma was clearly not mentally fit. Roy didn't bother with pleasantries. He just wrote. Lawyers make mistakes. We'll fix this. I didn't reply. Then came the calls. I stopped answering after the first one. Susan left a voicemail calling me manipulative and cruel, saying I'd stolen her birthright. That word stuck in my head, birthright. Like she was some princess and Mama Jean's house was her damn castle. A week later, I came home from the store to find a "for sale" sign staked in the front yard. I stood there, keys in one hand, milk in the other, just staring at it. They hadn't even called me. They'd called a realtor behind my back and tried to sell a house they didn't own. I ripped the sign out of the ground, marched back to my car, and drove straight to the real estate office. The woman at the front desk looked confused when I asked to speak to whoever listed 1429 Beaverton Lane. I'm sorry, she said, but that property is being represented by, no, it's not, I cut in. I live there. I own it. And if you so much as put that sign back in my yard again, you'll be hearing from my lawyer. She backed down quick. That night, I went into the attic and pulled down the old boxes Mama Jean had kept. Letters, photos, a dusty safe. I found the title to the house, her will copies, the deed. I organized everything into a binder. Because I knew they weren't going to stop. A few days later, I got served. They were suing me. All three of them, Mom, Roy, and Susan, claimed undue influence. Said I'd isolated Mama Jean, manipulated her, poisoned her mind. They wanted the will thrown out, the estate split 3 ways. I laughed when I read it. Mama Jean's letters were specific. She had dated and signed every one, explained every choice, made it crystal clear. Still, they thought they could drag me through court and scare me into giving up. I wasn't scared. But I was angry. So I fought back. I hired a lawyer with what little savings I had. She was sharp, local, and didn't blink when I showed her the binder. "Let's bury them," she said. The case dragged on for 6 months. They tried everything, calling old neighbors to testify, bringing up my job status, saying I was mentally unstable. Susan even claimed I once screamed at Mama Jean and locked her in a room. They were grasping. But I had proof. Videos of Mama Jean thanking me. Medical records showing she was lucid. Letters. Voicemails. Witnesses. The judge ruled in my favor. The will stood. They left the courtroom humiliated. And I thought it was over. But revenge doesn't always come in courtrooms. After the judge ruled in my favor, I walked out of that courtroom with shaky hands and dry eyes. People think when you win something big, you feel powerful. I didn't. I felt tired. Like I'd been holding my breath for months and still couldn't exhale. I thought they'd give up. But people like Susan don't quit when they lose, they change tactics. First it was the neighborhood rumors. Somehow, folks on our block started whispering that I took advantage of a sick old woman. That I stole the house out from under the family. I'd lived on that street since I was 7. Now, Mrs. Dell from 2 doors down wouldn't even wave at me. Then one morning, I found a dead squirrel in my mailbox. Another time, my tires were slashed. And one night, I came home to find the front door wide open. Nothing was stolen, but every photo of me and Mama Jean was missing. Gone. The police couldn't do much. No witnesses, no cameras, nothing we can prove. I knew who was behind it. But I also knew they were losing grip. Susan and Roy had sunk a lot of money into that lawsuit. My mom had already taken out a loan to pay her legal fees. The more they tried to ruin me, the more they unraveled. That's when I got an idea. Mama Jean had a storage unit on the east side of town. She used to keep old tax papers, furniture, holiday decorations. I hadn't been there in years. After the break-in, I went to clear it out, make sure nothing else got taken. What I found changed everything. At the back of the unit, hidden under boxes of fake flowers and plastic angels, was a locked file cabinet. I knew the key, it was on the chain in her old jewelry box at home. Inside were papers, folders, journals, and photos. One folder was labeled Susan's Loan. Inside, records of $42,000 Mama Jean had given her over the years. For the yoga studio, car payments, vacations. None of it repaid. None of it declared. Another was marked Roy's IOUs, $15,000 here, $20,000 there. Plus a letter from Mama Jean begging him to stop gambling. And then my mother. I found a manila envelope stuffed with printed emails between her and some scammer in Nigeria from 2016. She had sent thousands from Mama Jean's account. I had no idea. Mama Jean never mentioned it. Probably didn't want me to see her shame. And that was just the beginning. Bank transfers. Signatures. Loan requests. Every single one of them had taken from her, lied to her, and now they were trying to steal what was left from me. So I scanned everything. Every document. I backed it up twice. I mailed a copy to Mr. Klein and one to myself. Then I waited. Susan hosted a wellness retreat in Scottsdale every spring. I knew she had press coming, local influencers, news outlets, the whole thing. I sent the documents anonymously to the sponsors and the local business bureau. Her studio was dropped by 3 brands in 2 weeks. One of them even posted, "We don't support businesses built on elder exploitation." Roy? I sent copies of his gambling debts to his country club's board. You'd be surprised how quickly a pillar of the community gets dropped when he owes money to dead relatives and has court records. And my mother? I sent the emails to her job. She worked at a small Christian school in Georgia. Their board didn't take kindly to her past financial indiscretions. She was asked to resign for personal reasons. They called me after each one hit. Screaming. Crying. Threatening lawsuits. I didn't answer. They went quiet after that. And for the first time in years, I felt peace. But it wasn't over. Not really. Because then I found one last letter from Mama Jean. It was addressed to me. Handwritten, dated 2 weeks before she passed. It was short. But it changed everything. The letter was inside a blue envelope, tucked between some of Mama Jean's old tax documents. My name was written in her shaky cursive. Just Rachel. I sat down on the floor of that dusty storage unit and opened it with my bare hands. Inside, she'd written, "My sweet Rachel, if you're reading this, then I've gone. I don't have much time, and I don't know if I'll be able to say this before I forget. But I need you to know something. I'm proud of you. I know you've given up your life for me. I know you think I didn't notice. But I did. Every meal, every bath, every night you stayed by my side while the others ran off, I saw all of it. And I'm sorry I let them take so much from you over the years. You never said a word. But I saw it wear you down. You always held your head up. That's the part that hurt me most. I hope what I left you will help you build something better. Something for yourself. But please, baby, don't carry all this anger. Don't let them make you hard. You're better than they are. Don't forget that. Love always, Mama Jean." I read it 3 times. The last line hit me like a brick. Don't let them make you hard. But it was already too late for that. In those 5 years, I'd buried every dream I had. I watched people who shared my blood treat me like I was disposable. I spent months cleaning up after a woman they all abandoned. Then they tried to steal her from me one last time. I don't regret what I did. Not the court case. Not the evidence leaks. Not the ruined reputations. But I do regret letting it change me. A month after the dust settled, I sold the house. I couldn't live there anymore. Every corner of it felt haunted, not by her, but by everything that happened in those walls. I took the money, paid off my debts, and moved 3 towns over to a place where no one knew my name. I started working full-time at a community library again. I kept Mama Jean's letters in a shoebox under my bed. Some nights, I'd take them out, read one, and cry like a kid. Susan's yoga studio eventually closed. Roy filed for bankruptcy. My mother moved in with a friend and never called me again. I'd won. But I learned something important. Revenge feels good for a moment. Then it's just quiet. Cold. Empty. The real victory wasn't the money or the house. It was knowing I was the only one who stood by Mama Jean. That when the time came, I didn't flinch. I stayed. I showed up. I did the right thing. They couldn't take that from me. They never will. And if I had to do it all over again, I would. But this time, I'd do it without forgetting myself in the process.